What if your exhaustion isn't a sign of failure, but a message you desperately need to hear? This isn't the kind of tired that sleep can fix. This is a soul-deep weariness, the kind that settles in your bones after you've held yourself together for far too long. In a world that prizes relentless effort, this fatigue can feel like a prison. But what if it's actually a doorway? Ancient wisdom tells us that this point of exhaustion is not a collapse. It's a return point, a signal that you have traveled too far from the person you were meant to be. Peace doesn't arrive when you chase it. It finds you when you stop straining to become someone else. Your exhaustion is your soul calling you home. This video isn't here to tell you to try harder. It found you because you're finally tired enough to stop. Number 1, your fatigue is not your enemy. When you feel so drained that conversation feels impossible, when you have no energy left to explain yourself, just pause. Breathe with me. The overwhelming sense that your responsibilities are a crushing weight, your thoughts a tangled knot. Modern exhaustion rarely comes from physical labor. It comes from the immense pressure to conform, to meet endless expectations, and to present a curated version of yourself to the world. You must be strong, but never show your struggle. You must be kind, but never reveal your needs. You carry so many roles that your true self gets lost. You move through life on autopilot while your heart is left behind, wondering where you went. There is no awakening without first confronting discomfort. It's no accident that profound tiredness emerges when we live disconnected from our core for too long. Your soul communicates not with words, but with this deep cellular weariness. This exhaustion is not a sign of weakness. It is your unconscious mind knocking, trying to get your attention. It isn't trying to break you. It's trying to show you what you've been forced to ignore. A vital part of you is waiting, desperate to be acknowledged and heard. I recall someone who was the picture of success, always capable, always composed. But one evening, standing at a kitchen sink, she just stopped. The water was still running, but she had no will to continue. Her body wasn't tired, her spirit was. She sat on the floor in silence. And in that quiet, a realization dawned. She had been living as a machine. Has your body been moving while your soul has already stopped? Number 2, you are tired because you've been performing a role. Have you ever felt like you're an actor in a play written by someone else? You say your lines, you smile on cue, you play the part of the person who has it all together. You become the agreeable one, the resilient one, the one who is always fine. This performance becomes so seamless that you start to believe the character is you. Philosophers call this the persona, the mask we create to gain love and acceptance. While necessary at times, a terrible thing happens if you never take it off. You forget the face beneath. You start living for the world's applause instead of your heart's quiet needs. And that is the true root of your exhaustion. You aren't tired because your work is too hard. You are tired because you laugh when you want to cry. You are tired because you stay silent when your truth wants to speak. You are tired because you've mastered endurance, but forgotten honesty. I knew a man who was the rock of his family. He handled everything, listened to everyone, and his smile was a permanent fixture. But one night, taking out the garbage, he paused under the porch light. He sat on the steps, and without any clear reason, tears began to fall. It wasn't a breakdown. It was his authentic self, surfacing after years of being buried under the role of the unshakable pillar. That was the moment his journey back began. Imagine wearing a mask. At first, but each time you hide a real feeling, it gets heavier. Each time you say, I'm fine, it thickens. It's not just on your face, it presses on your entire being, making it hard to breathe. One day, you can't understand why you're so tired. It's not your body, it's your soul being slowly smothered. This exhaustion is a signal. It is your true self resisting. It is whispering, I am still here. Please don't leave me behind. Have you felt, in a moment of pure solitude, a vast silence that you can't escape? That is not emptiness. That is the soul returning. To be authentic is to choose your truth over your mask. You don't need to tear off the persona in one dramatic gesture. Start small. One honest admission. I'm not okay today. One moment where you don't perform. One choice to honor your real feeling over the right response. It will feel strange, even wrong, because you're so used to the costume. But that discomfort is a beautiful sign. It means you are stepping into a new shape, taking your first real breath in years. Number 3, confront the shadow you've been avoiding. As you lower the mask, you'll encounter another part of yourself, a part that's messy, raw, and difficult to face. This is your shadow. It holds the emotions you were taught to lock away. As a child, you learned that you were loved for being pleasant, so you buried the unacceptable. Feelings, anger, sadness, envy, the raw need for love. But the shadow doesn't vanish when you ignore it. It waits patiently for the day you can no longer pretend it isn't there. We often think we're tired from external pressures, but a great deal of our energy is spent in the internal war of self-suppression. The most draining battle you will ever fight is the one against yourself. A viewer once shared that she was praised for her constant gentleness. But that gentleness was a cage. She locked away her frustration at being overlooked, her grief from not being heard, her deep desire to be loved for her entirety. She believed anger was destructive and sadness was a flaw. She pushed it all down until, during a mundane meeting, she suddenly burst into tears. It wasn't about the criticism. It was the final crack in a dam holding back a lifetime of suppressed emotion. She later said, "I wasn't afraid of the anger. I was afraid it would consume me if I let it out." We all fear our shadow. We fear that acknowledging it will make us worse people. But the opposite is true. As the great thinkers taught, you do not become whole by imagining only light, but by bringing awareness to the darkness within. You don't grow by focusing only on your good. You grow by integrating the parts you've been taught to hide. Science shows that suppressing emotion requires constant energy, keeping your nervous system in a state of high alert. Your body stays tense, your heart races, your mind is weary. You can sleep for hours and wake up feeling heavy, not from lack of rest, but from a lifetime of unfelt feelings. Imagine your shadow is always with you. When you turn your back, it stretches out, long and frightening. But when you have the courage to face it, you see it as simply a part of you, silent and natural. You don't need a heroic effort, just one small, honest step. Today, I feel hurt. One moment where you let your body rest instead of pushing through. One tear allowed to fall. One thought observed without judgment. The shadow doesn't want to break you. It wants to be seen. It wants to belong to you. And when you stop running, something gentle happens. You don't fall apart. You become more complete, more honest, more whole. You return to the core of your being, where you don't have to try so hard. Number 4, release your grip on the uncontrollable. There is a unique exhaustion that comes not from doing, but from controlling, from the relentless need to manage every outcome, please every person, and secure a future free from pain. In this struggle, you don't realize you've been holding your breath for years. When we try to control life, we are not mastering it, we are wrestling with our own fear. Fear of the unknown. Fear of inadequacy. Fear that if we let go, everything will unravel. But a profound truth states that what you resist persists. The very effort to control the uncontrollable is what drains your spirit. I remember a man named Leo. His life was meticulously ordered, yet he was consumed by what if. He checked plans repeatedly, anticipated every problem, not to solve them, but to avoid the sensation of not being in charge. The more he tried, the more exhausted he became. He once confessed, "I just want one breath where I'm not thinking about the next one." Isn't that the core of it? Often, it's not life that's exhausting us, but our refusal to let it flow. Imagine you are in the center of a stream. The water moves naturally, but you want to command the current, to slow it, speed it, direct it. You fight the flow with your bare hands. Who grows tired? You do. The river never tires of being a river. We tire from resisting what is. There is an old myth about a king condemned to roll a boulder up a hill for eternity. His punishment wasn't the weight of the stone, but his inability to accept that some forces cannot be controlled. The boulder is life itself. The more you push, the heavier it feels. The punishment is the illusion that you must. Letting go isn't negligence. It is not giving up. It is the profound understanding that you are part of a larger intelligence. Sometimes you are tired not because you're on the wrong path, but because you're rushing. Sometimes cycles of pain repeat not because you're weak, but because a deeper part of you is trying to teach you something. When you let go, you don't lose control. You make space for a wiser part of you to take the lead. Have you experienced this? You strive and plan, trying to force a solution. Then, when you finally surrender and whisper, "I can't do this anymore," the answer often appears. Not because you forced it, but because you stopped churning the water, allowing it to become clear. Instead of trying to make everything conform to your will, try allowing things to be as they are. This isn't passivity, it is intelligent surrender. And in that acceptance, you will feel your entire being soften. Your mind clears. Your body relaxes. You begin to breathe fully again, because life never asked you to control it, only to live it authentically and fully. Number 5, embrace the power of purposeful stillness. As you learn to release control, you'll discover your greatest need is not more action, but more rest. Your exhaustion is not a command to keep going, it is a plea for you to stop. And this brings us to a common misunderstanding, the fear of stillness. We are afraid of silence, of emptiness, of doing nothing. We're conditioned to believe our value is tied to our productivity. But the soul does not heal in noise. It heals in quiet. In the silence, the unconscious begins its restorative work. When you stop, suppressed emotions can finally surface. Tangled thoughts have room to unwind. You don't need to try to be okay. The more you strive for peace, the more you push it away. Peace isn't an achievement, it's a state you allow when you permit yourself to simply be. I think of a person who was always the problem solver. One day, after immense pressure, she felt nothing at all. Just a hollow stillness. She went to a park, sat on a bench, and did absolutely nothing. No phone, no music, no agenda. At first it felt like laziness. But soon her breath deepened, her shoulders dropped, and she said softly, "It feels like my spirit just came back to my body." Sometimes silence isn't an escape, it's a homecoming. Picture a leaf on a turbulent river, tossed and turned. But in a calm pool, it floats peacefully, finding its way without effort. When your mind is chaotic, you cannot hear your inner wisdom. But when you are still, even for a few minutes, your unconscious can begin to sort and heal what your conscious mind cannot. Sadness finds its voice. Fear finds its space. Your heart rediscovers its natural rhythm. 1 minute where you turn off all screens and just exist. 1 meal eaten in silence, tasting every bite. 1 afternoon watching clouds drift. 1 breath where you place a hand on your heart and simply feel, without needing to change a thing. In these seemingly empty moments, you are creating a sanctuary for your soul to return. Within you is a center deeper than the ego, the true self. The ego shouts in the noise. The self speaks only in the quiet. This is why stillness is not empty. It is full of the truth you've been too busy to hear. Number 6, find your way back through small anchors. After confronting the performance, the shadow, and the need for control, a question remains. What do I do now? In this space, many make a critical error. They search for a grand, life-altering purpose. But when you are weary, big questions only add to the burden. The soul is not fed by monumental ideas, but by the smallest, most tangible experiences of being alive. When you are tired, you don't need to find the meaning of life. You need to return to what is slow, simple, and real. I recall a story of someone who felt so disconnected that waking up was a daily struggle. She sought answers in books and lectures, but it only deepened her fatigue. Then one morning, she gave up seeking. She simply made tea and sat by the window. She watched the light change on her hands, and she began to cry, not from sorrow, but because she suddenly felt herself inhabiting her body again. That is a small anchor. These are the simple things we overlook that have the power to reunite soul and body. The warmth of a cup, the sound of rain, the texture of a blanket, the feeling of your breath moving in and out. Great artists who knew deep weariness often found renewal, not in triumph, but in minute details. They wrote of the sound of the sea, the pattern of shadows, the clink of a spoon. These small things kept them anchored to life. That isn't healing, that is returning. And here is the essential truth. Revival never begins with a grand transformation. It begins with a slow human rhythm. You don't need to feel entirely better. You only need to feel slightly more present. Just a little is enough to start. So, when you are too tired to try, don't ask, what is my purpose? Ask, can I feel this one breath? Start with one small, real thing. Let the sun warm your skin, reminding you that life continues with or without your striving. Hold a warm mug and feel the heat seep into your palms. Fold a blanket slowly, as if gathering the scattered pieces of yourself without hurry. Place a hand on your chest and feel your heartbeat. Don't analyze it. Just recognize, I am here. I am alive. This is how exhaustion recedes and peace returns, not by pursuit, but by allowing. And when you return to these small anchors, you'll understand what many spend a lifetime seeking. You don't need to search for meaning. Meaning will find you as naturally as your next breath. Number 7, stop trying to save yourself. When you are exhausted beyond measure, you might believe, I have to save myself. And from that place, you push even harder. You consume more information, you set new goals, you try to fix yourself. But the more you strive, the more you drain your remaining reserves, feeling more trapped than ever. In this moment, the most profound reminder emerges, you do not need to save yourself. You only need to stop interfering with the healing your soul is already orchestrating in the depths of your being. The human organism knows how to restore itself. Your breath continues without your direction. Your heart beats while you sleep. A cut on your skin mends without your command. The body knows balance. The soul knows the way home. Our suffering comes not from an inability to heal, but from our refusal to allow the process to unfold. The greatest journey is not toward perfection, but back to authenticity. Your true self isn't a destination you must strive to reach. It is the place you return to when you cease trying to be anyone else. We grow weary when we live as a version of ourselves our soul never agreed to be. The more we perform, the wider the gap becomes, and in that gap, exhaustion takes root. I knew someone who worked tirelessly for decades, the unwavering pillar. She believed if she was just a little stronger, everything would hold. Then, her body forced her to stop. In the hospital, a doctor said gently, your body isn't failing you. You never gave it permission to rest. She said that in those days of enforced stillness, trying nothing, she found a peace she hadn't known in years, not because of an epiphany, but because she had ended the war with herself. She simply allowed her body and spirit to recalibrate. And that non-doing was the beginning of her recovery. This is the paradox. Healing happens not when you strive, but when you cease. Neuroscience confirms that when we stop straining, the nervous system can switch into its restorative state. The heart rate slows, breathing deepens, and the brain can process and integrate past experiences. A plant doesn't grow because you pull it. It grows when you provide the right conditions and then get out of the way. We are the same. We don't grow by forcing ourselves to overcome, but by allowing ourselves to unfold at our own natural pace. Peace isn't a prize to be chased. It doesn't run from you. It is what settles in when you stop the chase. So when you are tired of everything, remember this. You don't need to find some hidden strength or get up immediately. Life has been there all along, quietly trying to support you. Just as your breath continues without your conscious effort, just as your heart persists through your darkest nights, you are not lost. You are simply pausing on your journey back to yourself. The only thing required of you now is not more effort, but an open hand, an open heart, a willingness to let life in, to let it hold you, and to let it lift you gently and slowly. If, as you hear these words, you feel a softening within, a deeper breath, a sense of warmth, that is no accident. It is a sign that you are already ceasing to fight yourself, and that alone is a rebirth. When you are tired of everything, you are not at an end. You are at a turning point where your soul is gently guiding you back. Water, after a storm, doesn't need to try to become still. It simply rests and calm returns. You are the same. You don't need to be stronger. You don't need to pretend. You don't need to rush. Just one moment of pause, one conscious breath. And life has already begun, quietly, to put the pieces of you back together. The most profound changes are not announced with fanfare. They happen in the ordinary. One slow breath, one quiet morning, one honest admission of fatigue. In that softness, your true self begins to return, not with a shout, but with a whisper, gentle and complete. If this message resonated with you, please like this video. It supports this channel, Winds of Thought, and reminds you of the peace you carry within. Share it with someone who needs to hear it today. And if you wish to continue this journey home, subscribe. Whenever your spirit is ready, the right words will find you. As a gentle reminder, you have never been lost. You are always on your way home.